Good evening, everyone. You are in the Spotlight with Brian Gardner. This In the Spotlight 411 podcast coming to you here live on Google Hangouts and on YouTube on this Thursday, November the 5th, 2015. Good to have you all here for our second of three shows this week. Hope your day is treating you well here and your week treating you well. We have a lot on tap for tonight, so let's, as always, start off the show by reminding you how you can interact and contribute to our show. Have your voice heard by emailing us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also tweet us at itspotlight411, and please remember to use the hashtags hashtag itspotlight411 or hashtag ITS5. ITS5, of course, representing our 5th anniversary on the air as a podcast. You can also find us on Facebook. Just search for In the Spotlight 411 and then make sure you like our fan page. All right. Here's what's on tap for tonight. This is a Thursday show. Normally that means entertainment. Unless we have something special going on, like we do our occasional wrestling shows on Thursdays where we preview a pay-per-view or etc. Tonight will be mostly entertainment. We are going to preview this week at the box office in our box office beat segment. We are going to, as I mentioned on Tuesday, preview the holiday movie season in full. We'll go over it, give you some idea of what's going to be coming your way over the course of the next 2 months during the holiday movie season. We're going to do some TV talk tonight. We're going to talk about some of the highlights in TV over the last week. And also, because we pride ourselves on being able to discuss stories as they happen, breaking news, etc. Even though this is a Thursday night and it's an entertainment show, how many times have we done some sports discussion because of a big story or had updates about a particular playoff game from MLB or NBA that's going on while we're on the air? We always pride ourselves on talking about things as they happen, even if we try to keep things separated and do sports on Tuesday and entertainment on Thursday. So, well, there is some breaking wrestling news today. So, for in fairness to our wrestling fans, and because we cover wrestling, we do need to cover this here today because it is huge news, and it's in the long term, it could have some major repercussions for what was going to happen as far as what WWE had planned. So we will discuss the big breaking news out of WWE regarding Seth Rollins and all the rumors and early speculation as to how WWE will handle that mess. So that's our show tonight. So a little bit of wrestling off the top, box office, TV talk, all that good stuff. Also, later on tonight, we'll give you a little bit of an idea of what's coming up this month on the show. November, sweeps month, etc. Big deal, huh? So we'll give you a little bit of an idea of what's coming up this month at the end of the show for those that are wondering. So that is what's coming your way here tonight. So it's a full show. We want to get started right out of the gate here. I believe my co-host is on the air. I'm seeing his little profile picture. Mike, are you here?
Yes, I think I am.
Okay, then you are in the spotlight. Yay!
Yay! I made it.
Yay. All right. So we're going to get right down to it because that's what saves time.
Yeah!
Yeah. We're very enthusiastic tonight. I can't believe it. But yeah, we're going to get right down to it here tonight because this has been huge news today in the wrestling world. First of all, it's very odd. Let me just because I feel like I'm not the only person that this happened to because, last night there were reports that Seth Rollins had been injured at a house show in Dublin. He was having a match with Kane, and people at the arena were, we all know how this happens. Hits Twitter and social media first, and people start saying, "Oh, there was the X symbol and all this other stuff." And then late in the night and early this morning, if you read any of the wrestling news sites or dirt sheet sites or whatever, the reports were that he tweaked his knee. He was going to probably bandage it up and just wrestle tonight. It was not going to be, considered a big deal. Which was weird because there were some reports last night that he was carried out of the ring. Like he had help. He was carried out. So there was a lot of conflicting reports last night, a lot of conflicting reports this morning. Ultimately, early this afternoon, several wrestling sites reported it. Coachman from ESPN, I think, is the one that broke it. I believe ESPN broke the news, which is interesting. They've been doing more WWE related projects recently, so I think that
Coachman broke it.
Who did?
Coachman broke it.
Yeah, Coachman broke it, and ESPN broke it. They've been doing a lot of work with WWE recently, and then WWE.com confirmed it, and the news was very bad for Seth Rollins. 6 to 9 months, meniscus tear, ACL, the whole deal, which means he's guaranteed to be out. This ain't a Randy Orton thing like we talked about on Tuesday. He's guaranteed to be out for WrestleMania. It's unfortunate, and you know what? And you know what the worst part about it is, other than obviously his health and the fact that he's injured severely. In a lot of people's eyes, his title reign, as far as credibility, I mean, he just beat Kane, which was relatively clean. The Sting match at Night of Champions was relatively clean. So he's coming off of 2 pay-per-view wins where he finally kind of got some wins which were relatively clean. And a lot of people feel like they had turned the corner with the reign and it was finally starting to get interesting. You had this great feud going on with Roman Reigns, which a lot of people thought was going to lead to a Shield triple threat. Obviously, the worst part about this is his health and what happened to his knee. But from a programming standpoint, there's a lot of negatives too as well. So, obviously, we wish him a speedy recovery and hope all goes well for him. This has left WWE. You got the Orton news, you got the Seth Rollins news. Who knows what's going to happen with Sting, who got injured at Night of Champions. These are 3 big names that at least 2 of them, okay, you probably figure at least 2 of them will not be at WrestleMania. We know Rollins definitely won't, but more than likely Orton won't either. It's huge for WWE. So they invested so much in Seth Rollins this year. For better or worse, you can say what you say about his title. Again, a lot of people thought his title reign had turned a corner in recent weeks. They could have taken that title off him a million times this year. They never did it. There was a reason they never did it. You could tell by the way they're reacting today that, and the way that they're handling this, that I don't think he was losing it anytime soon. I said this on the show Tuesday. I don't think he was losing it anytime soon. And you can tell by the way they're reacting. They don't know. The early word was, and what WWE has said on their website, is that they will have a tournament at Survivor Series to decide the champion. But now there's word from a couple of wrestling news sites that they might change that and do something different. They don't look like they have any idea what to do here. And there's a bunch of different things going on. John Cena could be back early. Brock Lesnar could be back early. There's talk that with this being the Undertaker's 25th anniversary, that they might have Undertaker win the title. There's a million different things. The Rock, a bunch of different things out there. Mike, what is your reaction so far to this Seth Rollins situation?
First of all, it's not going to be The Rock. It's not going to be The Undertaker. It's not going to be Bray Wyatt. Let's just throw those 3 names off the table right now. It's a devastating thing to WWE. He got 2 clean wins, relatively clean wins. However, is it a huge loss? Yes, it is a big freaking loss. But he was probably going to drop the title in the next couple months anyway. I know you would not anytime soon. Next couple of months were probably when he was going to drop the title and move on to his WrestleMania program. So this title reign was going to be short-lived anyway. That being said, it's a huge loss because he's been having the year of his life in terms of his career. Like anything he's done has been like almost bulletproof. Like honestly, his dick got out on the internet and they still didn't take the title off of him. His girlfriend posted Nazi propaganda and they still didn't take the title off of him. Dean Ambrose was Dean Ambrose and got some of the best reactions WWE's seen in years, and they still didn't take the title off of him. So they were firmly behind Rollins because they knew the guy is money. He was very popular. He was money. Now, this is a huge loss. I mean, honestly, this was a freak thing. You land wrong on your knee, which is why I like those spots where, you know, the guy jumps off the top rope, lands on his feet, does the roll. That can blow out your knee pretty easily.
Right.
When you're being thrown to the ground, who does it? Ryback sometimes does it with some of the smaller guys. I think he did it with Owens at Night of Champions. That could blow out your knee too. Just something coming down wrong on your legs can blow out your knee in their 6 to 8 months. And for Rollins, this happens at the worst time because he's out for a better part of a year. He's going to miss WrestleMania. He's probably maybe coming back at SummerSlam. Maybe at the most. So, yeah, this is tough. Tough for WWE, very tough for Seth because he was doing great work. But now, I mean, yes, and WWE has no idea what they're going to do next. But they have opportunities with guys. Now, you can go in several different ways. Do you turn a guy heel? Take Seth's place. We've been talking for months about Roman Reigns. Could be his time to go heel. Could you put the title on a face and let it go? They've been wanting to put the title on Roman Reigns. This would be an opportune time. What about another guy? Like, would you go to I texted you this afternoon when I heard about it. Yeah. I feel like it should go to some sort of credible heel. WWE's got 3 credible heels right now. As of this moment, they have 3. Brock Lesnar, Alberto Del Rio, and Kevin Owens. Those are your options. They could go back to Brock. And it wouldn't be the worst decision they could make. They could go back to Brock. I don't know if I would, but because if you go back to Brock this quickly, you kind of have to promote the guy he's going to give the rub to. Because he can't hold the title much past WrestleMania.
Right.
So you're in a bit of a rock and a hard place. Honest to God, rock and a hard place. Is it the worst position they're in? No, they can bounce back from this. And you know what? I hope they stick with the tournament format because the last time they ran it, it was like late 90s. And it was the Survivor Series. It was the subtitle was Deadly Games. And if I remember correctly, the winner of you thought they were it was going to be interesting. They ran a huge swerve. It was the Corporation. They were firmly behind Mankind. It was up against this young, like up and comer by the name who had just kind of graduated from the Nation by the name of Rocky Maivia, and the crowd was actually firmly on Rocky Maivia's side. And then they ran the biggest swerve. Vince McMahon screwed Mankind. They ran this huge double turn. And The Rock became the biggest heel in the business that night. The face of the Corporation. Oh, I mean, the match sucked, but it was they've been running matches all night. So you were only going to get like a decent kind of thing. But anyways, it was an interesting night. And there was tension all night. I remember they kind of teased Undertaker versus Kane there. It was really good. I mean, the matches weren't like special, but it was the ambience, the environment, the fact that they were running a friggin' tournament to decide the champion. It's pretty awesome. So I think they can do it again now. They have guys that could win the title. They could carry it. I mean, honestly, your best choice, and totally biased, is probably Kevin Owens. I'm totally biased. But you've built the guy up, and he's going to be on there every day. So you might as well give him a go. You could go with Roman Reigns. You can even run the heel turn. You can run the heel turn with Ambrose. I think it does a disservice not to have Bray Wyatt involved. Like, I think it does a huge, huge disservice. But his program for Survivor Series is pretty set. So, I don't know. There's a lot of avenues they can go, but it definitely puts Seth Rollins, his kind of road on hold, obviously. Especially since he was going to get this, well, if all the sources were correct, he was going to get this huge WrestleMania program with Triple H, of all people, which would have been awesome. That would have been a great match. It would have probably been a great storyline too, but unfortunately you don't get that. So we're going to have to do somebody else. I think I just said the wrong thing there, but yes, we're going to have to go with somebody else and not do them. Specifically not do them. But and everybody keeps mentioning Daniel Bryan. Look, I like Daniel Bryan as much as the next guy. I do. He's not going to be cleared anytime soon.
It's not even how it goes. It's not even a thing about clearing. I don't think WWE wants to do this. Their champion just got injured, and with Bryan's history, I don't think they want to take a chance at this point. It's just a situation. It's funny you mentioned everything that Rollins has done this year that's been kind of bulletproof. He even got through a match at SummerSlam with John Cena.
And he won the United States Championship. He carried around
for a month.
He then immediately lost to John Cena at the very next pay-per-view. But the point was that he settled his beef with Jon Stewart.
Yeah. Yeah. But here's the thing. You made a lot of good points, and I everybody's been fixated on. I'm like, okay, because what's interesting is this situation. Of course, there wasn't an injury a couple years ago, but remember a couple years ago when after 2 weeks of build, they inexplicably threw all their Survivor Series build away and started fresh.
Yeah.
Like it was supposed to be like Team Punk versus Team Foley and all this other stuff, and then ended up making a triple threat with Punk, Ryback, and Cena and all that. We're in the same situation now, halfway through the build to the pay-per-view, where depending on what they decide to do here, and I agree with you, I hope they do the tournament because I think that's going to be a lot of fun. It'll make the pay-per-view, and they were having trouble making up a card anyway. So,
well, here's the thing: I don't mean to interrupt you again.
No, go ahead, please.
But what you could do, just throwing it out there, is you could run. All right. Well, let's go this way then. You could run. You're gonna have the Paige versus Charlotte match. You could run the big Survivor Series match. PCB, Becky Lynch, Natalia, and a couple other people. Maybe introduce the world to Bayley, and you find another diva, and then you go against Nikki Bella's done for the moment, right?
Yeah, she's out.
Maybe Tamina, Sasha, Naomi, and like Brie Bella or Cameron or someone. And you do like a big diva Survivor Series match, which would work. Which would work fine. And then you have the Team Wyatt versus Team Undertaker Kane Survivor Series match, and the rest of the night is your tournament.
Right.
And you have all of your current champions competing for it. You protect the ones you want to protect. You bury the ones you want to bury, and you try to get it on the guy who can generate the most heat for you. So,
yeah.
choose one. You know.
Well, I think the one thing that assuming they keep, whether they keep the tournament or they decide to go with something else, I think the one thing we can assume is that the 4 guys that were in that fatal 4-way match a couple weeks ago are probably all going to factor into this a little bit.
Del Rio,
Ziggler,
Reigns, Owens, and Ziggler.
Yeah.
Maybe. Well, okay. See, you could probably have Ziggler factor in it, but Breeze is going to cost him.
But I think that you can assume that, I mean, the majority of the participants in that match are probably going to be involved in some way, shape, or form.
I think at least 3. I think other than Ziggler, the other 3 guys are your big options.
Right.
And instead of Ziggler, I would substitute Dean Ambrose in there.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's fair. You know, the other thing that they can do too, and I've seen some people speculate this too, is, you know how it looked like we were headed for, we were going to do Ambrose Owens for the Intercontinental title. We're going to have the tag team titles. We got a Divas match there. Maybe some of the maybe you make it not the title matches that you have on the card are not just title matches, but maybe they're qualifying matches for a title match that night as well.
They did something like that already. I don't know if I do that.
I know, but you know, it wouldn't be. The other thing too that I think is interesting too is, and I've seen a lot of people suggesting this today, and you know what? See, to me, it's kind of weird to suggest this because the reactions that people are getting now are the same reactions they're going to get that night. People are like, oh, maybe you should do the tournament and then you see who the crowd's behind that night and go with the person that gets the biggest reaction, either heel or face, wins the title.
Then your main event is going to be Dean Ambrose versus Kevin Owens.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is your Intercontinental Championship match, theorized anyway.
But and that wouldn't be the worst match. So no, it would be fantastic. And again, I don't think, like, first of all, they're not going to do that because you know they're going to go into that night knowing full well who's going to be the final 2.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, if you want to make a case for, like, okay, whoever your final 2 is, if you're really undecided who to put it on, see how the crowd reacts, okay, that's fine. I think maybe you could justify that, but I don't think you can justify making every single decision that night in that tournament based on who the crowd's reacting to.
No, you can't do that.
You can't do that. I've seen people go, oh, well, let's see because for one thing, so many crowds are different. Depending on where you're where the event's being hosted, the crowd could be completely different, and it might be one of those crowds that's indifferent to most people. So how are you going to make a decision on a crowd that's indifferent to a lot of the people in your tournament? Can't.
And they'll get burned out pretty quickly too. So
exactly, and then it doesn't work out well that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think by now they should already know in a lot of ways who the crowd's behind one way or the other. Like, you know, like, okay, you got Kevin Owens, you got Dean Ambrose, Roman Reigns gotten better reactions recently. You know, you could throw Cesaro in there if you want. You could throw.
That's a good choice, actually.
Yep, you could throw him in there. Ziggler, you could always throw in a Ryback. You could throw in there. You know, I mean, there's a number of names. Obviously, when this happens, the first name everybody thinks about is Cena.
I don't think they're going to go to him.
I can understand why people think that. I can understand why even it's got out that they're discussing it because, you know, it's already been pretty much said that he's probably going to be back before TLC because they just need him at this point. Cena's program, look, first of all, remember, if he wins the title, this is the record-tying win.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. It's not going to happen now because they're going to want to build up to it as a big moment when it happens.
Yeah.
They can't do that over 2 weeks.
No.
That's one of the reasons why I didn't think he was going to win at SummerSlam because it came out of the blue. There was no build up to it. So my thinking is, I mean, if you want to believe that he's going to come back, I mean, that they're going to keep him out to the Rumble and then he's going to win the Rumble and they're going to do this grand build up to WrestleMania where he's going to do it, I can believe that more than I can believe him winning it now.
I don't think he's going to do that either.
I don't either, but I'm just saying I can put more stock in that than him winning the title in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That's my thing. Another thing that I thought was interesting too And this is a very big long shot. I do not believe this is going to happen, but it was interesting that it got brought up. It shows you how popular they are. There was some feeling that maybe they put it on a member of the New Day, like Kofi Kingston or Big E.
It would probably be Big E, but that would be an interesting because they kind of made Big E look really good. Yeah.
I wouldn't mind it. It'd be different.
It's an interesting way of going about it. I don't think they're going to, but it's an interesting way of doing it.
I don't doubt that they might have Big E in one of the matches.
Oh yeah,
or Kofi or something. It won't be Xavier Woods, but
no, you never know.
No, but if it were me making the decisions, okay, if it were me making the decisions, I'd either have the final two be Kevin Owens and Dean Ambrose, or Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns.
It's going to be Roman Reigns,
and
it's definitely going to be Roman.
The only thing I would say, though, is, and of course, I'm coming from the perspective that I wouldn't turn Dean Ambrose heel.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm saying, Dean Ambrose, because if Ambrose in the match, then you have Reigns turn heel. If Reigns is in the match, then Ambrose is turning heel. Because I'm thinking that, I think you're right. I think they're going to, I believe they'll want to put it on a heel. That's my belief, and I think that whoever that heel is the one that's going to carry the title in the Mania.
Yeah.
So
it depends on who it is because they might carry it past Mania too.
Exactly. And you know something? I think that their plan probably was to do the Ambrose turn anyway. I think that's where they were going because I think they were going to do a Shield triple threat. And I think they were looking at it from the standpoint of Ambrose being more like a tweener, not a heel. Because they knew that the crowd wasn't going to all turn on Dean Ambrose because even though Roman's reactions have been better, I think they feel like it wouldn't be that. It would be a betrayal. And yeah, some people would turn on Dean, but the majority of fans would still be behind Dean, so they wouldn't be looking at it as a complete heel turn.
No, Dean's more of an anti-authority kind of face anyway, so.
Right. So I think they'd be looking at it from the standpoint of it wouldn't be a full heel turn. It would just be their way of setting up the Shield triple threat for WrestleMania.
Yeah, and in fact, probably more people would root for Dean Ambrose anyway if he turned on Roman Reigns.
Right. So my thinking was, if that's the case, then they probably will keep some semblance of the plan
and
have Ambrose screw Reigns and given whoever he's facing. And that's just my feeling. But the only problem with that is if it is Kevin Owens, I do not think that I don't think they're going to want to give Kevin Owens a cheap run with the title.
No, which is why I think he'd probably carry it past Mania.
Right. So I mean, it really, in all essence, it depends on, at this point, knowing what they know now, who they want to carry the title in the Mania and who they want to carry it out.
Honestly,
go ahead.
It's like they don't really have a great option. I mean, well, let me rephrase that. They feel like they have options that are all like great.
Mm-hmm.
And they have viable options. It's just options I don't think they feel comfortable pulling the trigger on yet.
Well,
that's the only thing.
I think the feeling is that there's a number of guys that are good options, but they feel like they haven't built up to them having a moment yet. And then there's the option of, if this was taking place in July or August, I think that'd be an easier decision. Like, okay, we'll give this guy a try. Yeah. And if it doesn't work out, we just take the title off him in about a month or two. You know what I mean?
Well, and then there's your thing. Like, just to kind of be the counterpoint to that, a tournament. A tournament is a great way to kind of give a guy, like, a moment.
Right, true.
Without really having to build it up so much.
True.
So that's the thing. I mean, WrestleMania 4, they really didn't build up Macho Man too much. But they made his run through that tournament pretty special.
Right.
And they really played off DiBiase, so Macho Man was that underdog. And when he won, everyone was marking out. Maybe even more so than the fact that Hogan.
And the other thing, too, is, to your point, too, about the tournament, is you can build up storylines throughout the tournament.
Exactly.
Like, if your plan is to have Reigns or Ambrose turn heel then maybe they lose barely. You know, they feel like it's their night and they lose barely, and it's kind of like, oh God, I can't take this anymore. It's their breaking point.
Exactly.
So you can build. You're right. It builds up storylines. It could actually build up more than just a title match. It could build up stuff for the next couple months, depending on the matchups. But the proximity to WrestleMania, because they're selling tickets and they want to start the promotion and all this stuff. The proximity to WrestleMania is the thing that makes this decision even more difficult for them to decide, because for them, they want to start building the programs now. And you saw what they did last year. They started the Sting Triple H program, and they want to start building the programs now, so you have some idea and you start building and getting momentum. And so that's why this decision is so monumental, because it's not like you're going to just take the chance and somebody say, let's see what happens. Whoever they're going to go with here is more than likely somebody that is going to factor in some way, shape, or form into something huge at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Either they're going to carry the title in or carry the title out, or what happens with them in these next few months is going to build something big. So that's what, and now, obviously this is horrible what happened to Rollins. This is really, really bad. But it also has created unpredictability, and that pay-per-view now has taken on a completely different setup.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we went from 2-match show and really not, other than the Rollins Reigns match, maybe the Taker and Kane match with Wyatt's, to now thinking this whole night could really be very interesting. Like, there's going to be a lot of things that could be set up. There's a lot of potential. There's a lot of things they can do. It's going to be very unpredictable. You're not going to know which way they're going to go. Even until you get to the last match, you're not going to know what way they're going to go. Whereas before, we were like, okay, Rollins is probably going to come out, or Sheamus is going to cash in, and Sheamus still could do that.
Yeah, Sheamus still could cash in. Let's not write that one off yet.
I mean, I think that's far more likely now, given what happened. Especially since if you are going to do a tournament, guys are going to be doing multiple matches during the night. You could justify
Sheamus to kind of run out there. Yeah,
you could justify it. So there's a lot of drama and tension that is going to be at this event now. It's unfortunate that Seth Rollins had to get hurt to create it, and hopefully he makes a full recovery. But at the same time, looking at it from the booking standpoint and from a programming standpoint, there's going to be a lot of edge of your seat kind of viewing with this event now.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
So it's just a really interesting, and it almost helps them set up TLC next month, because they sometimes like to do multiple guy matches, TLC matches. You could already set something up right away with having a couple of the guys that came close, or whoever comes close to just close to winning the title. They could be in that match at TLC now.
That's a good point.
So a lot of your booking is going to, for the next pay-per-view, maybe even Rumble, could be taken care of right here, not in here. So there is things in there that can create other things, but yeah, obviously it was a tremendous shock. We wish him well, Seth Rollins, a speedy recovery. You won't see him till at least the summer. And for people that are like, okay, he gets, now can they ever do a Rollins Triple H program? They can do a Rollins Triple H program.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, there's a way. There's a lot of people that already thought about it. Rollins comes back, and Rollins' case is going to be, I never lost the title. I had to vacate it. I never got pinned. I never lost the title. So automatically, upon his return, he can claim a title match. And you'll likely get it, but then they could have, maybe Triple H has a new guy in the authority that he's behind. And that's where you can make that decision now, or at some point next few months, and build that person like a Kevin Owens or something, and have Triple H side with the new guy and not Rollins, and that instantly starts the program. So you can still do this. In fact, you think about this. It's very likely. I mean, he might be back for SummerSlam, but you know that WWE, they might hold it. They could say, you know what, we're going to hold you out until we can start this program. And then maybe you have him come back right around like Survivor Series next year.
Mm-hmm.
And then have him have his title match at Survivor Series and have Triple H screw him out of it at Survivor Series, thereby setting up WrestleMania next year. And you still get Rollins versus Triple H at WrestleMania. So it could still happen. There's ways they can do it. There's still way. I mean, it's not the way they probably would have wanted to do it, but there's still ways it could happen. Now, you know, we focus so much on the title and Seth Rollins. You think about this too. What does this mean for Triple H at Mania now?
He doesn't have to wrestle anybody.
No, but you know he's going to because Vince wants to fill the arena.
They want him to. He doesn't have to if there's not a viable program there. Look, the other thing that could happen is if Sting can go, maybe they give Sting his win back on Triple H.
True.
Or maybe they run Kane versus Triple H and maybe give Kane maybe give Kane a win back on Triple H. Because there's many wins Triple H can give Kane. There's a lot of wins.
Yeah.
A lot. That dark age of Raw was pretty dark.
There's also, you know, everybody's been fixated on the Rollins Triple H program and how many times it's been changed and, you know, postponed. You know, people forget that last year at SummerSlam, before they committed to Reigns versus Orton, the match was Reigns versus Triple H.
Yeah.
They could always go with something like that or Ambrose versus Triple H.
Yeah, they could always give him one of the Shield guys, and it would have been fine because Triple H would do the JOB for his boys. You know, that's how it goes.
Yeah, he did it for Daniel Bryan. He'll do it for somebody that he's behind. You know, so
yeah, 100%.
I mean, if he was a face, he could do it for Kevin Owens.
They're not really heels at the moment, so.
Yeah, he could still do it for Kevin Owens then.
He still could do it for Kevin Owens.
He still could do it for Kevin Owens. You know, I'm pretty sure they will find something, or they'll go back to the original match, which was Triple H versus The Rock.
If The Rock can do it.
If The Rock can do it. So there's still, I expect him to be on the card in some way, shape, or form. But like you said, he doesn't have to, but I expect him to be. So
yeah.
All right. So yeah, so we'll cover that. We'll keep you up to date on any developments as it happens with the Seth Rollins, everything we'll do with WWE. Survivor Series is 2 weeks from Sunday. Raw is in the UK next week, so we'll be talking about that next week and any developments that stem from that. And obviously, we'll have a Survivor Series preview show 2 weeks from tonight, and we'll obviously talk more about what's going on, and we'll definitely know more at that point. So. It should be an interesting few weeks now in WWE, that's for sure. From wrestling, we jump to what is our normal focus here on a Thursday night, entertainment, and this week's box office, which will officially kick off the holiday movie season, which we'll be previewing here tonight as well. And we start off this weekend with two of the most anticipated movies of the year, or of the last few years. And the two movies that will kick off the summer movie season and resurrect the box office after a few bad weeks here, or below average weeks, I should say, because they went all out bad. But you got the new James Bond movie, Spectre, which will be Daniel Craig's last time as James Bond, which should draw some more eyes to the screen for sure. Also features Dave Bautista. For the wrestling fans out there. Also, you have the Peanuts movie, which will be the first of two huge animated movies opening here this month. And obviously, the Peanuts movie is a huge deal. It's been long awaited for a number of years, actually more than a number of years. And obviously, that there's a tremendous fan base and a tremendous following and popularity there that will make this a tremendous success. So, you know, this is one of those weekends. I mean, once you start getting to summer box office, holiday movie season, usually every week there's at least one or two big movies coming out. it doesn't become a case of will this be a good weekend or will these movies succeed. It's a case of how much will they make and how successful exactly it will be. And so it's you know going in here that both movies are going to do very well. That it's going to be a much better box office week. The question is who's number one and what is the what will they do in the not only in this weekend, the short term, but in the long term. And you know, you always have to take into account the fact that it is early November. People, you know, it's kids are still in school, etc. Now, here's the other thing too. Because of how the last couple of weeks have gone at the box office, you can't make the case that people have been, you know, the movies have been packed and that people haven't been going to movies the last couple of weeks. It didn't seem like many people at all went for Halloween this year. It seemed like the beginning of the month is where everybody did that. So, you know, there's not going to be an oversaturation. There's not going to be people saying, well, I've used all my money over the last couple of weeks on movies. There's not going to be any of that at all. So you don't have to worry about that.
Now it's going to be I used all my money on Christmas presents.
Well, that's true, but that happens. That's always a given in this time of year. Yeah. So, you know, last year at this time you had Big Hero 6 and Interstellar. So it's kind of the same setup. You got a big action movie and an animated movie. And it was a huge kind of weekend. You know, at Big Hero 6, I think made over 50 million, and you had Interstellar at around 50 as well. So I would expect a similar kind of weekend. You're probably now most people think Spectre's going to do much better than that. I would agree. But the one thing that I think is interesting is that you're seeing a lot of people think that Spectre is going to beat the Peanuts movie by a lot, like over 40 million. No. I don't think so. Like I said, I expect a similar weekend in terms of how close these movies are. I think Spectre will be number one, but I don't expect it to be like a easy number one. I do think that the Peanuts movie will gross about over 70 million. I know that there's a great deal of people out there that, you know, will say, well, it's a family movie in early November, you know, it doesn't matter. Big Hero 6 was on the same plane as that, and I know it might have had more appeal. You don't think the Peanuts movie is going to appeal to older audiences? How many people grew up on Charlie Brown? Come on. There's a lot of people that are going to come out for this movie thinking that it's only going to make 40 to 45 million. To me, is just lowballing way too much. Now, could it make around 60 and be far away behind Spectre? Yeah. But I'm willing to bet that it's going to hit at least 70 million and make this race a little bit closer. So I think it maybe not quite so as close in proximity as Big Hero 6 and Interstellar were last year at this weekend, but I think a lot closer than people think. But yeah, I would say Spectre will be number one. I expect it to break the 80 million mark, and I think the Peanuts movie will break at least the $60 million mark, more than likely 70. Now, everything that's been out for the last couple of weeks and doing well, Goosebumps, The Martian, Bridge of Spies, etc., they're all going to drop significantly. You're probably looking at about 7 million for The Martian, about 5 million for Goosebumps. Everything else will probably be under 5 million. That makes the most sense. A couple other things to think about too. Got a couple limited releases. Miss You Already, starring Drew Barrymore and Toni Collette. Will be opening in 384 theaters. It could be a top 10 kind of movie. Paranormal Activity is losing a ton of theaters, so it'll probably take their place there. And a couple of the flops from the last couple of weeks will be losing a ton of theaters as well. So, but yeah, so I expect a very, very big weekend this weekend. Maybe even a little better than people think. James Bond will probably pull the number one off and probably beat Skyfall's numbers. And the Peanuts movie will be right up there with it. It's going to be a very good weekend. The box office, heaven knows it needs it. And it's only the start. You know, the last couple of years you've seen the box office put two big movies right at the gate in November. You know, you saw it last year, you're seeing it this year. That's a trend that I think will continue. You know, because it keeps these two movies away from some of the later releases at the end of the month and in early December. It's a good way to kind of jump ahead of the game. So, another movie to check out this weekend too, Fox Searchlight. It's only opening in 5 theaters. It will be expanding its release over the next few weeks. Brooklyn, a PG-13 film starring Seth Rollins and Jim Broadbent. So very small cast, not but it's already made 28,000 domestic. So if you're interested in those kind of like indie kind of movie, small budget movie, you got that one as well. I already mentioned Miss You already. So that's what you're looking at this weekend. It's gonna be a huge weekend. I'm not gonna talk about. I could say we're gonna talk more about the holiday movies in a minute. I'll let you know what's gonna happen beyond this weekend. And you might notice we're not talking at all about the previous weekend and what reason it wasn't a good weekend at all, at all. I mean, again, below average. I wouldn't call it a travesty, but The Martian was number one with about almost 12 million. Goosebumps had about 10 million. Bridge of Spies, 8 million. Hotel Transylvania, almost 6 million. The Last Witch Hunter and Burnt were around 5 million. Burnt did the best of all the new movies. Our Brand is Crisis flopped with 3.2 million. Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse flopped with 1.8. And again, Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse, nobody known in the cast. Sometimes that helps you because you can keep the budget down, but then other times it can hurt you because nobody recognizes anybody in the movie and they're less likely to come out. So there's a reason why we didn't talk much about last weekend because there really wasn't much to talk about. The focus is all now on the holiday movie season and what's to come. And this weekend we'll start off this big holiday movie season in a huge way and get the box office out of the doldrums. So should be a big, big weekend at the movies. Mike, you have any thoughts on what's to come this weekend?
Spectre's going to do great numbers, and then Peanuts is also going to do great numbers, but slightly less great numbers than Spectre. Peanuts is probably going to be the family movie of the holiday season, and Spectre is going to have a couple of weeks at number one. I think Peanuts will do better than Good Dinosaur. Unpopular opinion, I know, but honestly, nothing's going to beat Spectre for a while, except until Hunger Games.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, it's a 2-movie box office now until the 20th of November. It's 2 movies. I mean, 33 and Love the Coopers and My All American are coming out, but they don't have the star power and they don't have the marketing to beat Spectre or Peanuts, so they got 2 weeks to themselves.
Yeah.
It's Hunger Games, and then it's Good Dinosaur. And Creed. Creed looks good.
Creed looks great.
Creed looks good.
But
yeah, that's it. It's my opinion.
All right. Well, you already kind of teased what's to come here. You got this weekend, and like you said, I think these 2 movies that are coming out this weekend, the big ones, Spectre and Peanuts movie, are going to dominate the next 2 weeks for sure. You're looking at your number 1, number 2 movies for the next 2 weeks, guaranteed. In my opinion. Next week you do have a few. Let me see here. That my screen just froze. I apologize. I know. Okay, here we go. Sorry about that. Next week you got Love the Coopers, My All American, the 33. Love the Coopers has the potential to actually, I mean, it'll appeal to the older audience. It'll do okay, but it ain't gonna do huge business. You're looking at like maybe 12, 13 million there. 33 will probably make like 6 million if it's lucky. And then My All American will probably pull in like, maybe 4 or 5 million. I mean, that's very small. So nothing huge next weekend. So nothing outrageous. Okay, it's just going to be Spectre and the Peanuts movie for next week. Now, obviously, on November 20th, things start to get big. You have a movie called Secret in Their Eyes, which I don't think will do much at all. Again, older audience kind of movie, maybe 8, 9, 10 million. It'll appeal to the audience. Now, there's 2 big movies. Both of which are very heavily promoted. And really, I'm going to talk about The Night Before real quick. It's a comedy Seth Rogen is people behind it. Seth Rogen, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Anthony Mackie. I've seen promos. It looks hilarious. R-rated. Okay, this is going to do well. But here's my issue with this movie. And I know we've seen a lot of, over the last couple of years, you've seen maybe an R-rated comedy or two come out right around Thanksgiving, okay? Because, you know, people come home from college, think it's, you know, people out with their friends. I understand that. I might have waited a little longer on this and released it in early December.
I agree.
Because here's the thing. You got Hunger Games coming out this week, and whether for better or worse, I don't care if you like the film or not. And some more, I mean, if somebody doesn't like the film, there's a very high likelihood they might get dragged to it. And look, it's the last Hunger Games movie. It's gonna do huge business. It appeals to all their audiences, teens, whatever, which is right in the wheelhouse of Seth Rogen. So this is gonna hurt his target audience. Now, again, it's probably gonna do okay. It's an R-rated movie, so they're not thinking that's going to do huge numbers out of the gate anyway, but you really hurt yourself here by pegging yourself against what is going to be one of the biggest movies of the year. I disagree very much with the release date. It will get seen, yes. It might end up hurting in the long run from what it would have done opening weekend. Like, it'll pick up steam after the first weekend maybe, but yeah, I think it was the wrong move to release it with the Hunger Games, which does come out. Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2 does come out that weekend. And obviously, we all know what that is. So, you know the cast, you know what that is, you know what it's going to do. And then the night before Thanksgiving, which is always the release date for films, because they're not going to release it on Black Friday. You got Creed, which is going to be a big awards buzz movie and obviously a big blockbuster. The Good Dinosaur, which is the second Disney Pixar movie being released this year. Very rare that happens, but it is what it is. And obviously that will be when the Peanuts movie probably starts to really lose steam. And then Victor Frankenstein, a drama from Fox, which is actually going to be, in my opinion, one of the more underrated movies of this entire season. Daniel Radcliffe, James McAvoy. To me, this movie has a lot of potential and gotten nearly. It's probably not going to end up doing as well as it should, but to me, it's going to be. It could be a sweeper kind of hit. This movie. So you got the Good Dinosaur, you got Creed. Creed will obviously not do huge numbers. It'll be like maybe a $16-17 million movie over that opening weekend, which is good enough for it. Then you got Good Dinosaur, which will probably draw in about $50-60 million that weekend at least. And then Victor Frankenstein, which will probably fall in the 10-12 million range. And these movies, now you get Creed, The Good Dinosaur, Victor Frankenstein, and then the previous week you got The Hunger Games the night before. Those movies will dominate the weekend before Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving week, Thanksgiving weekend, and will pretty much dominate right into the first week of December because there's nothing coming out the first week of December. Except for a horror comedy called Krampus, which doesn't star anybody big, won't do much.
It's
$2 million budget. So,
it's a horror movie based on the Christmas tale of the Krampus.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's going to have some Krampuses.
It
sounds awful.
You're gonna have the limited release of Macbeth that week, starring Michael Fassbender and Marion Cotillard. So that will be worth discussing. That will expand its release throughout December. So that would be something to keep an eye on that week as well. And that movie should be very good. And then the weekend after that, you have the limited release of Legend, a crime drama. Well, okay, that will be expanding its release. It'll be limited before that. And that stars Christopher Eccleston, Taron Egerton, Tom Hardy. Very good cast. So that will be expanding. It's R-rated that week. And that, to me, probably will do actually reasonably well that week, I would imagine. And In the Heart of the Sea, which stars Chris Hemsworth, Cillian Murphy, and Benjamin Walker. It's a drama. That one could be your... And I'm going to cue Mike on this because, Life of Pi of this year.
Richard Parker?
Thank you. I was waiting for
Richard Parker!
Yeah, that one could be your life of Pi this year. It's going to be all about visuals, and it's being shown on IMAX. It's gonna that one could be your visual movie this year. But yeah, so that one would be one to keep an eye on. Again, none of these are going to do big business, so you're probably going to see Hunger Games dominate for like 3 weeks. The Good Dinosaur for a couple weeks. The Night Before will hang around. Creed will hang around. Those movies will take you right into December. And then Legend will be up there and in the heart of the sea, less so. And then on the 18th of December, that's when things will really change. And you'll probably have some history that weekend, given the pace of things right now. When Star Wars The Force Awakens opens that weekend, and also Alvin and Chipmunks The Road Trip, which will get seen, okay? All the Alvin and Chipmunk movies have done very well. Maybe Star Wars will hurt it more than any other movie prior, but it will do okay over the Christmas season. And you have a movie called Sisters from Universal, which is a comedy, opening nationwide that weekend. Starring Tina Fey, Amy Poehler, Maya Rudolph, John Cena, also in that movie. And it's R-rated, $30 million budget, so that might get enough popular actors in it that it could be seen over the holidays. But we all know that weekend's going to belong to one movie, and every weekend...
And his name is John Cena!
I expected that sooner than you did it.
Because you expected it when it wasn't supposed to be there.
Right. Wow.
You were wrong. I was right.
I was horribly wrong. I apologize. But yeah, that weekend and the weekend after, and pretty much right into the middle of January belongs to Star Wars. It's become very clear. Christmas Day, which will be on a Friday this year, so everything will be opening on a Friday this year. No early releases. Will not feature really anything that will probably draw huge. So you'll still be factoring in everything before it that's open big, like Star Wars and everything else. But you do have a couple of interesting movies. Concussion, which is the Will Smith, Alec Baldwin film about the NFL concussion situation. Ridley Scott's a producer on that. Daddy's Home, a comedy from Paramount, starring Thomas Hayden Church, Will Ferrell, Mark Wahlberg. So that'll be your Will Ferrell comedy this year, which should be interesting.
All right. Well, I got something more important to talk about, Shish. You know how the WWE Championship is vacant?
Yeah.
If Sheamus just decides to cash in on Monday, would they just hand him the title?
He should try.
It's worth trying, actually. Yeah, they should probably just do that. There we solved it. It's more important to talk about a Will Ferrell comedy. And I like Will Ferrell. It's just...
that could be a very not very humorous situation if they have Sheamus come out right at the top of Raw Monday and say I'm cashing it in, and like because of some kind of like technicality, like, oh no, you can't cash in on a vacant championship, and then Sheamus gets the fit.
But it is being held by Vacant, the former multi-time heavyweight champion, Vacant.
Is this what you hope happens on Monday?
He looks like this. I actually can't. Oh, there he is. Yeah. That's Vacant.
Are you hoping this happens on Monday?
Sheamus is actively asking for the match on Twitter. Him versus Vacant. This is what I'm doing when you're talking about.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. What was I? Oh yeah, Daddy's Home. The Will Ferrell comedy. That will probably get some traction.
Will it? Will it?
It will. It will, because it fits right in with the whole family theme of the holidays, and then you have David O. Russo directed and writing, reuniting with Bradley Cooper, Robert De Niro, Jennifer Lawrence's crew from Silver Linings Playbook, which will definitely get some eyes and be an awards buzz kind of deal this year. And then Point Break, which I think is just going to flop from Warner Bros. It's a remake, but I think it's going to flop because with Star Wars and everything. I mean, I don't understand why they would release that, but whatever. And then that Monday, the 28th, you got a movie called The Big Short from Paramount.
Wait, why are we going through the entire?
Just hang on a second. Hang on a second. I'm getting to a point. Relax.
No, really. What? No.
All right, Christian Bale. This movie now, for some reason, they decided to release it on a Monday, which I don't understand. Like, I don't know why they're not releasing it on Christmas, but it's a weird time to release it. Anyway, Christian Bale, Steve Carell, Ryan Gosling, Brad Pitt, Melissa Reo, Melissa Tomei, Brad Pitt's the producer, Anna McKay's the director on it. Good cast, obviously. That one could be interesting to keep an eye on. And The Hateful Eight will also. I got to mention The Hateful Eight, which is opening on Christmas Day. Quentin Tarantino's new movie, which actually released a trailer today. So that one will obviously be a big deal too. So even though you got Star Wars, now let's go back. We brought up all the movies that are factors. Star Wars will dominate late December into January. We know that. Alvin and the Chipmunks will do okay. Concussion, Joy will appeal to the auto audiences and do okay. And obviously Jennifer Lawrence will get pulls enough younger audience in the factor. The Big Short might do okay. The Hateful Eight will do very well because of Tarantino. January once you get to December 28th, The Big Short's pretty much the end of the holiday movie season because once you hit the first week of January, it's it. And nothing's really opening on December 31st, really. So,
are we doing our winter movie preview?
No, we're done.
Why the hell are we doing this?
Well, oh my God!
All right, let me summarize the last 20 minutes of what you were just talking about in one sentence with a semicolon. Movies coming out. Star Wars dominates. End of discussion. That took me 30 seconds. You're welcome.
That was not okay. Obviously, I think we all know Star Wars dominates.
Yeah.
And then to a lesser extent, Hunger Games and Spectre, The Good Dinosaur, and the Peanuts movie, and Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Yeah, pretty much.
I was heading somewhere here.
Very slowly.
Yeah, because we do have time to fill.
Brian, I know you like the story of the tortoise and the hare, but eventually the hare wins. The hare actually wins 9 times out of 10.
Mike, do you remember those days in the early part of the show, early days of the show when we were back on Talk Show and when we read stuff to people? And boy, those are some of our highest rated shows.
No, because I was asleep.
Exactly. You were asleep, but apparently nobody else was. So,
Brian,
right.
You have to keep this in mind. We are now on Google Plus and YouTube. This is no longer in podcast form. They have to watch us. And I don't have a silly hat today. So,
all right.
We got to get to the point. This is no like BS YouTuber nonsense crap where we're talking for about 45 minutes on a subject. Jump to the point, please.
I was about to until
no, you weren't. You're
I
full
actually
of
was about to. I was getting somewhere.
No, you weren't. Stop lying.
Okay. All right. Hang on a second.
All right.
The question is this. We know what movies are bulletproof and are going to do well. Okay, there's a certain amount of movies that we know, Hateful Eight, Star Wars, all those, we know which ones are going to do guaranteed to do well. Then there's a couple that we know will do reasonably okay. And then there's a couple that we know are guaranteed flops. Hello, Point Break, at least to me, okay? The question is, and I already brought up one, what could be a surprise on the positive end? What could be a surprise on the negative end? Because obviously that, when you go into any kind of movie season, summer, whatever, that is not always an easy question to answer. It isn't. I already mentioned that I think that Victor Frankenstein could be an underrated movie. That it might not end up making as much as it should, but it could end up surprising. Kind of like I felt this way about Now You See Me a couple years ago in the summer. I thought, oh, this is going to be that underrated movie that didn't make as much as it deserves. It ended up doing very well. So that's my feeling is that could potentially be like that. So that could be a sweeper. Legend could be a sweeper. Those would be my two picks. On the negative side, you could say The Night Before because of the release date. Even though you would think it would do okay, you could see maybe, even though I just said that this probably wouldn't happen because it's never had before, they usually do well. And the Chipmunks could end up doing far less than expected. Maybe people just don't feel like, maybe people are over it. Maybe with Star Wars and all the other animated and the Good Dinosaur, Peanuts. As Mike has noted, Will Ferrell movies, hey, maybe Daddy's Home flops, even though I think it should do okay. This is a very eclectic group of movies this year. Usually you get your animated movies, usually you get a couple action movies, and a couple of like big fantasy action epic movies like Lord of the Rings, Hobbit, etc. Usually you get these kind of movies, and then you get a couple of little dramas, and you get a family comedy or two. This year you got a couple of different kind of comedies, a couple of different kinds of drama. You got some big sci-fi movies. It's a nice little bunch of nice mix of movies. You got some crime dramas. It's a nice mix of movies. Much like it was for Halloween this year, a nice mix of movies. So I think the far more interesting question is going to be what might surprise us. And I just gave you a few on both sides, positive and negative. Mike, do you have any thing you want to toss out there, even though you think this could be solved in 30 seconds?
Okay, sure. 30 seconds, right?
Well, according to you.
Concussion is go. Shh. You had the last 20 minutes. Shut the fuck up. Concussion is going to do kind of well, but it's an Oscar movie. I don't care about Alvin and the Chipmunks. They'll do fine, but who cares? Krampus is going to blow and suck at the same time. Daddy's Home. Will Ferrell is kind of like Adam Sandler. His movies haven't been doing well. I don't know if it will. If it won't. Point Break. If it came out in January, it might do better, or maybe even February. It should be moved back, though. Maybe even to March. Doesn't matter. It's going to get dominated by Star Wars. I don't care about the Hateful Eight. I know it's a Tarantino thing, but honestly, everything in the month of December is going to get its ass kicked. And probably January, too, is going to get its ass kicked by Star Wars. That's it. There's not really going to be any sleeper hits. It's a one-movie circus. It's a one-movie circus. This isn't a situation like when Avatar came out years ago. At least you had Sherlock Holmes. You've got nothing. They're hoping Point Break is the Sherlock Holmes. It's just they don't have it. And even if you look into January, there's really nothing except for the Republican porno movie, 13 Hours, The Secret Soldiers of Benghazi. That's a Republican porno film, just in case everybody knows, which will get its ass kicked anyway by Ride Along 2. That is the next big movie coming out, is Ride Along 2. That's going to be the movie that dethrones Star Wars. That's it. That I literally have just predicted the next month and a half of cinema. You're welcome. Suck a dick.
I can't believe you just used the F word on the air. Thanks a lot for that one.
This is an 18+ thing. Aren't we adults?
Yeah, I know, but still,
Let's be adults then.
okay,
We use salty language too.
okay.
This is America, damn it. America.
In America.
Fuck yeah.
Okay.
There, I just used it twice.
Now let me just say this, because I mentioned later in the show we're going to mention some other things that are going to be coming up this month. You know, you look at what's on tap for next weekend. We and again we overviewed it, but yeah, you look at what's on tap next weekend. You pretty much assume that this what the Spectre and Peanuts movie is going to dominate next weekend. We're not going to have much of a box office report next week. We might not even have any at all.
Thankfully.
So just keep that in mind before people go crazy on my email saying, "Oh, where is it?" Well, just keep that in mind because I don't expect much to change next weekend as far as what's at the top of the box office. Now, again, we mentioned what movies are going to dominate. We mentioned what movies are going to probably likely be flops, what could surprise, all that good stuff. Mike's right. When it all comes down to it, all boils down to it. The whole holiday movie season will belong to one movie. And that's going to be the centerpiece of this whole thing because of how historic it might end up being. And that's what really, once Star Wars comes out, all eyes will be on how much it will make. It'll be like this during the summer when usually in May when you start tracking movies, go, oh boy, how big is it going to be? That's what's going to happen with Star Wars. You know, we haven't done with Jurassic World. It was a surprise. Nobody expected it to do that. Everybody thought they were going to be tracking what was happening at the box office with Avengers. Jurassic World was the one we were tracking all summer. People are going to be tracking Star Wars because it's not a matter of it dominating and doing huge business. It's a matter of how big a business it does. It will end up more than likely being in the top 5 of box office ever, worldwide and domestic, guaranteed. It's just a matter of how far it goes. And that will be the story of this whole period. And obviously you'll have other movies too that'll be up there, Spectre, Hunger Games, you know. But Star Wars is the ringleader, and Star Wars is the one that's going to be making history more than likely. And when all is said and done this holiday movie season, that will be the reason it gets remembered. No doubt about it. All right, we're going to go move on here. We've done more than enough with film. We're going to go to TV here and talk about, in our TV talk segment here, our TV highlights of the week, which there were quite a few this week in my estimation. But just to break up the monotony of me doing all the talking and keeping my co-host awake, Mike. I'm sure you have lots of TV highlights from this week.
I actually have my microphone right here, so I could lay down. Because I don't know if you know this, I've had a busy ass work week. So I am. Work week. You know what? Coming from somebody who doesn't have a busy ass work week, I don't want to hear that. So shut the fuck up.
You're feisty. Yeah. You're feisty tonight. Good Lord.
I am also slowly agitated. So. I love that your implication was that I have seen so much television this week, because I have not. I have actually seen less television this week than I have previously, because I haven't had time to actually sit down and watch some friggin' TV this week. I think the only things I'm caught up on are The Flash and what was the other one? Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was much better this week. Yeah, I know it was a big, sweeping, dramatic piece last week, and you had to see it was an interesting episode, but it went in direction. I mean, it went in the totally expected direction. But we just need more drama for Fitzsimmons. For the love of Christ, do we need more drama for Fitzsimmons?
No.
Really? No. Now we've got to introduce Will. Will from the alien planet who was an astronaut. We have waited 3 freaking seasons for this. It's like right now, my least favorite character is freaking Will. Because this friggin' Gary Stu shows up and you know what? Yes, they did fantastic acting last episode. See, I can't even speak well. I wasn't even writing properly today. I was spelling like regular routine words backwards. That's how friggin' out of it I am. But no, we have to introduce Will. And Simmons now, her sole goal is to get back to the planet to rescue Will. I don't give 2 craps about Will. I don't. If we end up back on this planet and we get the Guardians of the Galaxy, then sure. I'm okay with going to get frickin' Will. But thank God we went back to interesting characters this week. Other than Fitzsimmons working to get friggin' Will back. I don't care about Will. I cared about Lash. I'm interested in what the heck is going on with Lash. Because I like this giant frigging swerve. I do. And next week's episode is all about May and Lash. So it's like, hell yeah. You know what? I'm in. This looks friggin' interesting. And now Daisy's got to worry about Coulson and Rosalind getting too close. All right. This looks interesting. This week's episode was great. Everybody gave Hunter crap because he was such an idiot 2 episodes ago. And I like that. It was good. It was smart. And it was decent writing this week. Unlike last week, which was all about Simmons and frickin' Will. You know what? Screw Will. If Simmons ended up on the alien planet with Lash, it would have been more interesting. But I want to deal with interesting characters this season. I don't want to deal with freaking boring ass Will. Will is Simmons' MacGuffin. Can't she just end up with Fitz, please? Good Lord. Ugh. It's a show about spies and Inhumans. Can we have at least one normal thing on this freaking show? Anyways, I don't know. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's a good show, though. It's a good show. Clark Gregg. See, you know what they need to do? Here's what they need to do. We need a Clark Gregg-centric episode. I just solved your Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. problem, and that's what you had one. And Flash is just really good. Like, Tom Cavanaugh was great. He's playing a more dickish version of Harrison Wells. That's fantastic. And you've got the almost moment with Caitlin Snow and Jay Garrick. I see. I'm not a big fan of that, even though they've been teasing it. It's like, oh, Ronnie just died. Hey, hot guy from other dimension. What's up with you? It's like the love of your life just died, and you jumped right over his disappearing, non-existent corpse. Just hook up with the depowered Flash from the next, from the Earth 2 dimension. Yeah. I don't like that either. But it gives Caitlin Snow something to do, I guess. Cisco finally nutted up. That's because Harrison Wells is a dick. Earth 2 Harrison Wells is a dick. But here's the thing. At least dick version of Harrison Wells is going to introduce us to Zoom. And we are at the time of the season where we need to see and kind of interact with Zoom. It's kind of like the Reverse Flash.
Yeah.
We need to see him. We need to see what his thing is. So eventually we see how Barry beats him.
Yeah.
But Flash has been really, really good. I haven't seen Arrow yet. I heard it was anywhere from just okay to oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
Hmm.
So somewhere in that range. I have not
Right.
seen Doctor Who yet, but I heard Doctor Who was really freaking smart this week. I kind of don't want to see it until the next one's on, just so I could see it as like the two-parter.
Right.
Last episode was called the Zygon Invasion. This one's called the Zygon Inversion. I don't know. It looks really good. I'm hearing Capaldi. Look, you were talking about the Simmons's actress on Agents of Shield should get an Emmy nomination, an Emmy win for her work. Do you know who should really friggin' get an Emmy nomination for their work this year? Peter frickin' Capaldi. You want to see a guy bring it every single episode? That dude is doing some of the best work of his career. And that guy has had some pretty amazing freaking like roles.
Mm-hmm.
Literally. Malcolm fucking Tucker of the
Yeah.
thick of it. That was one of the greatest friggin' that's like the British version of the West Wing, only with like 100% more swearing.
Right.
And 100% like more like bile. And he was the center of the show, and he was amazing. And the dude was making up curse words every show. That is a miracle. But I mean, Peter Capaldi has done some amazing work, just amazing work, and he deserves some sort of award recognition. They're not going to. They're not going to give him anything. But you can't just sit here and say, oh, well, so-and-so did this great work in one episode without acknowledging the fact that other actors and actresses have done better jobs.
Right.
With that being said, I need to catch up on Doctor Who. I need to catch up on Arrow. And I kind of gave up on the Muppets a little bit.
Well, you're not the only one.
No, I'm not the only one.
You heard the news, right?
No, I didn't hear any news.
The showrunner of the Muppets is done. He's gone. They got rid of the showrunner who there was supposed to be two showrunners, and I guess because of circumstances they couldn't be, so this guy got stuck with the job solely. He's off the project, and the person that's taken over is one of the people that works on Gallivant.
Well, hopefully that person who works on Gallivant is not the guy who decided that having a cliffhanger ending for a show that was definitely on the chopping block was a good idea.
See, here's the thing. They're going to reboot it.
Gallivant?
No, Muppets. Apparently, they got a couple more episodes, and they're only going to go with a 16-episode order this year instead of 22 because they committed to a full season. They recognize the fact that the development was accelerated last year. There was a lot of mistakes made, and they're gonna basically do like a soft, kind of like Sleepy Hollow did this year. They're gonna do like a soft reboot in the spring when it comes back from hiatus after the holidays.
I would hope so because here's the thing. The Muppets, here's the thing according to me. The Muppets, in my opinion, is mine, right or wrong. You can disagree with it. That's fine.
Okay.
The Muppets, before this show, every single one of these Muppets were inherently likable. You introduced a new one, Walter, in the two movies. In this show, Walter, I think, has appeared in like one episode. Has had maybe one line. And what happened to it? You introduced Walter. Okay, so you pretty much ignored the fact that he even exists. And you're bringing like Muppets that nobody remembers. All right, sure, whatever. But every single one of those Muppets were inherently likable from the old-time Muppet Show all the way through the two recent movies. And when you got to this show, some of the Muppets remained likable. And then some of the Muppets who want to just tear their friggin' heads off. Like, here's the thing. Kermit the Frog is one of my least favorite characters in the show. It's like, Kermit's a dick. I mean, he had that one episode with Fozzie that was kind of funny, but like he kind of messed that up himself.
Mm-hmm.
Miss Piggy is by far the worst character on television right now. And that's saying something. Considering you've got some actors playing literal devils. And you've got actors and actresses playing literal mad scientists. And you've got literal terrorist organizations kind of featured on some of these like dramas. And Two Broke Girls are still on television. Miss Piggy is the worst and most unlikable character on television. And Miss Piggy should not be that. Miss Piggy should not be that. But you don't like her. It's like, well, no shiza, Kermit broke up with you. Because you're unlikable. She's so self-centered. It's like, how can I root for this? Why do I want Kermit and Piggy to get back together? And I don't even like Kermit anymore. The one episode you tried to make Miss Piggy inherently likable was the one where she went out with the cast, and the cast was dreading her. And then they go out, and there was, what's his face from The Office and Daily Show. And Ed Helms. Miss Piggy goes out. They got her and Ed Helms and the rest of the cast go out and have a legitimately funny time. That was hilarious. And then what happens after that? Kermit ruins everything. The show goes back to the status quo. I'm like, you had an opportunity for character development right there. And you ruined it. It's like, yeah, no wonder why the showrunner was fired or left or whatever. I don't care. Because it's the main two characters are inherently unlikable. And if that's your situation, then you have a major problem. But other than that, I mean, that's it. I don't have opportunity or interest to watch any other show.
Right.
And it's sad too, because I used to watch a lot of television.
I had the chance to, it's interesting. I had the chance to catch up with a few shows I haven't watched. I pretty much limited the new shows that I started with this year. Blind Spot, Limitless are the only two I've stuck with. I've caught up on the Muppets, and this news doesn't surprise me because I got the feeling that, Bob Kusno, who was on the job. Remember, it was supposed to be two guys. It was supposed to be him and somebody else, and it ended up just being him. And it probably was too much for him. And look, this show already got screwed over developmentally. So, it's an immense undertaking. You're better off going with a clean slate. You're right. You're right in that, when you're two leads, and your classic star-crossed lovers, your show's central couple are unlikable, where are you going? You're not going anywhere. And I like the format. Like, I like the ideas, the premise. I like what they were trying to do. But I think the problem is not only did they try to, the whole mockumentary thing is cool and all, but it only would have worked well if the Muppets were the Muppets. You're trying to almost make this into just a normal sitcom. It shouldn't be a normal sitcom. It's the Muppets. Do that premise you're trying to do, but with the Muppets. Make them the Muppets. Do it in a Muppet-like fashion. Don't try to do it like some pretentious garbage. You're making the Muppets pretentious. The Muppets aren't pretentious. They're supposed to be entertaining. They're supposed to be fun. They're supposed to be flashy, over the top, campy. Maybe going with somebody from Gallivant will help because that show can't be over the top. It's got a musical edge to it. That might help. That's what it's up.
You all right?
Yeah.
I think your feet dropped a little bit.
It did. But you know what I'm saying, though? It's just like, well, I understand what they were trying to do. I understand that they thought they were trying to do something different. But you lose your audience if you tune, like anybody that tunes into the Muppets right now is going to look at the Muppets and go, that's not the Muppets. Sure, they're on screen, but that doesn't come off like the Muppets. And that's why the ratings have tanked. Yeah, I know it's still doing well in DVRs and everything. I understand that. But at the same time, you got more people that are watching, only watching because it's the Muppets and they're watching out of habit. They're not even watching it for the right reasons. That's a problem. I've caught up with that. I've actually watched Sleepy Hollow for the first time this year. And I know the whole thing is they're doing the whole Bones crossover and everything. And that was okay. I like Bones. That's not a thing. But boy, you know what? Talk about, I understand they felt like they had to reinvent the show, make it a procedural and everything. But my God, it is so boring now. Like last year, I know it was a mess, but at least it was a hot mess. Like at least it was something that, you know, there had the supernatural elements. It was somewhat appealing still visually. There was, you know, mysteries. There was different things to it. It was unique still. Now it just looks like the only thing unique about it is, oh, wow, we're going to, oh, God, I can't remember his name now. Ichabod. Oh, we got Ichabod from another, you know, a different century. That's the, and that doesn't even barely get brought up anymore. Like,
I'll look it up.
But it's just completely like, it doesn't even feel like the same. I mean, I know it's not supposed to feel like the same show, but my God, like you took everything that made the show special. Like if you think back to that first season, it was partially a procedural. Every week it had a different monster or something. At least it had somewhat of a balance. Now it's just so bland. My Lord. And I watched only 2 episodes. I can't imagine. No wonder why the ratings are even worse than they were last year. Oh, my goodness. It's horrible. I feel bad for the actors. I'm total agreement with you on Flash. I caught up on Gotham this week finally. Or at least I should say I read up on Gotham because I had to because I'm so far behind. And there's a couple of things going on there that I like, and there's a couple of things going on there that I will say this much. I saw a clip of Robin Lord Taylor's performance on this past Monday's show. And they finally did something that they should have did last season, but nonetheless, it was still a big moment. He was absolutely brilliant. And there were some good things in this episode. I don't want to spoil them. I haven't even watched the episode yet, but I just heard some things that I think anything that they're doing with Penguin is still amazing. I like that they're finally at a good place with Nigma. It looks like next week they're going to finally end the Gordon Barbara Tompkins thing, which is long overdue. So I mean, there's some positives there, but still very, very far from being what they should be. Your points about S.H.I.E.L.D., though. First of all, this week, even though last week, you know, everybody's praising last week's episode, and I understand why. Okay, oh, it's compared to the March. It was out of the box, unique kind of episode. I agree. At the same time, and even though I understood why they did what they did, and from a writer's standpoint, it's classic. I understand it. But it is very frustrating because I almost feel like it would have been better off if she was all by herself the entire hour. Because, see, here's the thing. Even though I understand why you're doing it, and even though you tell a good story and it was well acted and everything, the minute that Will shows up in that episode, you know exactly what's going to happen. And that's my issue with it. That's my major issue with it, is that You took an episode that was not conventional, and you gave it something conventional. So it took away a little bit from it. Now I'm far more interested in the villain that's on that planet. And I mentioned last week I had my theories. Well, now that we're a week removed from it, I can mention that I think that the villain is Ego. He's a Thor villain who can master and change surroundings. He usually takes, like, he can live within the planet and change the planet's, like, landscape and such to his needs. I think that's who they're dealing with. I don't know. That's just a theory of mine. But that would be pretty cool. I was far more interested in that and Simmons battling that than I was Will. But to Mike's point, this week we got back to some interesting, like, character-driven kind of stuff with May and Hunter, and Bobby had a major big week this week. Ward. We saw the return of Gideon Malik, who, for you people out there that do not know, was in Avengers. He was one of the World Security Council members who apparently is now Hydra. I don't think that's that big of a spoiler because that's been out there for a while. We saw some big developments with the Hydra stuff. Coulson, Rosalind, Daisy, that got some good development. And there was a heck of a swerve at the end of the episode, as Mike noted. Even though I knew it, I predicted it 2 weeks ago while watching it. I pretty much figured it out, but spell was pretty cool. And visually, it was one of the best things they've ever done. And next week looks amazing. So, yeah. I mean, that's pretty much all I've been watching. Shield, Flash, Muppets, some Sleepy Hollow, Bones. I Gotham here and there. But I thought there was quite a bit of good this week on TV. I thought there was quite a bit of good. Plus, it's sweeps now, so you're looking for shows to up their games, and some of them already have, and you anticipate over the next couple weeks that more will continue to do so. I was actually going to bring up that Muppet news on its own, but since we already did, we don't have to bring it up. But yeah, I mean that's all that's from a TV standpoint. That's all I got. Before we wind down, really, that's really all we had to go through tonight. Couple of things about what's coming up this month on the show. Obviously, we'll have our normal sports stuff on Tuesday of next week. We'll have a football blitz show tomorrow. I'll remind you all the time later on here tonight as we end the show here tonight. Next Thursday. Now, the reason why usually I would wait until the season starts. In the past few years, we've done that. We're not going to do that this year. We're going to do it before the season starts because I think, we do that with everybody else. I mean, sometimes we get caught and we do it when the season starts for some sports, but I try to, at least if we can do it, even though I do see the potential and I do like doing it the other way as well. There's something about, like, a lot of people seem to like it this way, doing it before the season starts too. So I guess I'm caught in between. Like, I see positives on both sides. I like to do it both ways. So this year we're going to, for the first time in a number of years, we're going to do it before the season starts because really it doesn't get started till Friday of next week. College basketball preview show we will be doing next week. There'll be a couple little entertainment things, but for the most part, the entire show will be dedicated to previewing college basketball. Make some predictions, talk about the preseason rankings. There's already a couple of surprises up there for those that probably haven't been following things. We'll preview some of the big games of the early season, all that good stuff we'll do next Thursday. So a little bit of sports on a Thursday for you next Thursday. And then 2 weeks from tonight on a Thursday, we'll have our WWE Survivor Series preview show, which obviously will be huge now with all the stuff that's been going on. And then the weekend after that, we're only going to have one show because of Thanksgiving week. Last year we tried to do two. I should say we're going to do two shows because we have football blitz as well. Last year we tried to do 3 that week. It was, I think, a little too much. I don't even think we ended up doing that. So, yeah, we'll only have one show that week. That will be Tuesday. And then we'll probably do the football blitz maybe on Tuesday as well. That I might do a 2-show day that day, but we'll see. And that's November. Now, a lot of people asked me the other day, oh, you're previewing a bunch of stuff coming up in November. And we can't. See, the thing is, when you have Thanksgiving, when you get to the holiday season, You have Thanksgiving and taking up 1 week basically. In December, you have Christmas, you have New Year's. It really shortens how much you can do. So, and there's always a Thursday show that we dedicate to WWE, so we have to work around that. And we have the college basketball stuff we have to do this month too. So, the college basketball we did the holiday movie preview tonight. We got the college basketball thing next Thursday. Preview show next Thursday. We have the WWE pay-per-view Survivor Series preview show the following week. So every Thursday we have something different. I know the pay-per-view stuff we do every month, but still it classifies as a special. So, and then we might do a couple of different things along the way on Tuesdays with our sports wrestling shows. So, but that's a general idea of what's coming up this month and what's the plan and all that good stuff. And feel free to give your feedback. Feel free to let us know what you think. If there's anything you want us to cover, all that stuff. Via email, Facebook, and Twitter. As I said a few minutes ago, we will have a football show tomorrow. The In the Spotlight Football Blitz will be coming at you same time as last week at 2:00 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow here on Google Hangouts and on YouTube. So make sure you tune in here for that. We'll look ahead to this weekend's NFL games, look back at last weekend's, talk about tonight's NFL game, Thursday night game. And then, of course, we'll also do some college football stuff as well. We'll do a discussion of the first college football playoff rankings, and boy, were they interesting. Some big surprises there. And then also, of course, preview what's to come in college football this weekend. Now that we know the rankings, that makes it a little more interesting to do that. So that will be coming at you tomorrow on our In the Spotlight Football Blitz. All right, so we made it through everything. That's it for tonight. As always, the show might be over. Please feel free to continue sending your feedback, topic ideas, breaking news items, questions about the show, questions about the scheduling, any questions, reactions, comments you have to anything we did on the show, anything we said, any of that good stuff. You can email Facebook or Twitter. You can email us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. And please remember to use the hashtags, hashtag itspotlight411 or hashtag ITS5, of course, ITS5 to represent our 5th anniversary on the air as a podcast. You can also find us on Facebook. Search for In the Spotlight 411. Once you find our fan page, like our page, and then go ahead and post with us or interact with us in any way, shape, or form you want to do. I was hoping, I thought for sure, I was 99.9% sure, so I was sure that this was going to be done. It wasn't. I only have an episode left to upload. I will probably finish that off tonight. So, unfortunately, we didn't have Podbean, iTunes, still not done yet. If I get to it tonight, it'll be done for tomorrow. Otherwise, definitely for next week's show, so that all of you that want to just check us out by way of audio, by way of just a typical audio podcast, you can do that on Podbean and on iTunes. And of course, these last couple of weeks that we've been on Google Hangouts and on YouTube, we'll make sure that those episodes are uploaded to Podbean as well for those that want to catch up on those. But again, until Podbean and iTunes are open, the only way you can catch up on all of our episodes since we moved to Google Hangouts and YouTube, and any of our episodes that we air, tomorrow or until further notice, the only way you can catch up is on YouTube or here on Google Hangouts. You can only see us visually. You can't just listen to us in audio form quite yet. So if you want to catch up on our episodes since we moved here to Google Hangouts and YouTube, check us out here on Google Hangouts and on YouTube. Just search for 411 and you us here again on Google Hangouts and our channel on YouTube, and be able to catch up on the last 8 episodes that have been here on Google Hangouts and YouTube. So keep all that in mind, and hopefully by tomorrow, but obviously next week, definitely at the latest, we'll have Podbean and iTunes all ready for you, so you can catch up on us by way of audio on those respective sites. Those will be 2 of our host sites as well. But if you want to check out any of our old shows from before, Google Hangouts and YouTube, you can go to iTunes. You can go to our original host site, Blog Talk Radio. You'll find our 31 original episodes on there. Or you can go to TalkShoe or Libsyn, where we have our last 5 years worth of episodes for the most part, other than the original episodes on Blog Talk Radio, all on there. So TalkShoe, iTunes, Blog Talk Radio, Libsyn. You can check out any of our old episodes from before our dates here on Google Hangouts and on YouTube on those sites. Just search for some of our old show title, In the Spotlight with Brian Gardner, and you will be able to access those old episodes and catch up and get a sense more. If you're new fans, get more of a sense of who we are, what we do, and all that good stuff. So keep all that in mind. I want to thank Mike, as always, for being here tonight. Thank you, Mike.
Time for bed. Let's go.
Pat myself on the back. Thank myself for another great show. And thank all of you for your continued support, your continued contributions to the show. Thank you so much for sticking with us, being patient, working with us through the transitions, contributing and participating, and of course watching us and all that good stuff. We do appreciate it. That's it for tonight. Our next primetime show, of course, will be next Tuesday night, which is November the 10th at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. That'll be a sports wrestling show, so we'll talk NBA, any off-season MLB stuff that's important we have to bring up, maybe a little college basketball before we do the preview show next week, wrestling, all that good stuff on Tuesday. Of course, next Thursday, again, will be our college basketball preview show, so keep that in mind. But our next actual show will be tomorrow during the daytime, 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, in the Spotlight Football Blitz. Will be coming at you again at 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time here on Google Hangouts and on YouTube. We'll look back at last weekend NFL. We'll head to this weekend's NFL games. Talk about tonight's NFL game on Thursday Night Football here. College basketball playoff rankings. Take a look at this weekend in college. I should say college football playoff rankings, pardon me. And take a look at this weekend in college football and see what's on tap. All that tomorrow on our next show in the Spotlight Football Blitz. 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow. Until then, have a good night, everybody.